doing something in the digital space that could fill the void. Everything that we saw in digital, you know, kind of the Awesomeness TV, the Maker Studios, everything was comedy or for kids. It was like the Nickelodeon space, and there was no one that was doing sci-fi, horror, dark and edgy, anything that was kind of dystopian, that sort of short form, sort of like the way Vice took news and did their spin on it. There's nobody that was owning that vertical. So we worked very hard to put together this company. We brought in Jason Blum as a partner, and we started creating original IP. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this character, Slender Man, that started on a board, basically this site Creepypasta where people tell stories about Slender Man, and the character just grew, and everyone started posting photos. Then some girls murdered they tried to kill another classmate because they said Slender Man. That's not our goal, is to try and get children to kill each other in school, but we do want to terrify children. So, no, our whole feeling is that there's going to be, if you want to start Marvel, if you're going to start something, what everybody now wants in television, in movies, really is known intellectual property. Like if I went out with Hostel 4, I'd have an easier time getting that made than an original movie because people want something familiar. And certainly the investors, it's not just growing things, it's not just taking a character and growing it. We partnered with a data company, and it's using data. And using data to see exactly who is watching it. Because for me, what happens is, you know, I'm the filmmaker, I'll make a movie. They do this NRG testing, which is so unbelievably antiquated. It's 200 people on a Wednesday night, and then they have a focus group of 18 people, and they extrapolate it for 300 million. And they're like, yeah, women under 25 aren't gonna watch your movie. And so anyways, I'm talking a lot, but there's a whole flawed system where we said we can use things like Facebook, targeted ad buys, marketing, to see who our audience is, and then retarget those people so that you take an idea, you put it out there, you can put $10 behind it with pennies test against it, and go, okay, we can tell that men that are 23 years old that watch, you know, that are like people that like Vampire Diaries, people that are fans of Arrow, you can see exactly who's watching it, and then retarget those same people with new episodes. What we then realized is that we could start using it to market movies, which is, you know, we did with Green Inferno and a few others.
You're a creative and a businessman.
Yes.
I think that creatives have traditionally sort of abhorred, you know, science coming into determining what we do, how we do it. How are you able to use data to inform what you do on the creative side when it comes to creating content?
Well, you don't. You use data to find your audience. You know, you cannot, the nice thing about what we do is you cannot separate the creative element. That we did this contest recently called 15 Second Scare. It was just over Halloween, where I pulled in Quentin Tarantino, who you can barely get near a computer, Gaspar Noé, Deadmau5, Vanessa Hudgens, Jordan Peele, Blum, and myself to judge contests. We got something like 7,000 entries of people. Of them, there were like 200 or 300 that were really, really, really good. So we contact those people and we say, do you want to do a series for us? The idea is you treat everything as intellectual property. So, but we're curating the quality. Like you can't just put something that's a piece of crap out. I mean, look, there's stuff that we always say, look, we don't know what's going to work, but we have a certain taste, a certain level of quality, a certain aesthetic. What you can use the data for is to find who's responding to it. You know, say there's a piece of content, like I always say, we did this short that was called The Horrors of Autocorrect, where half the people in the company thought it was funny and half the people thought it was lame, and we put it on there and it exploded. Now, I wasn't imposing my taste on it and saying, but I was just saying, let's see what the audience is, but we could tell that girls 14 to 18 went crazy for it. And the way you tell is the metric that we use is engagement. It's likes, comments, and shares. Because what we've learned through our data company is that a lot of these websites that are saying we have 3 million users, it's bullshit. The traffic's bought. It's not real traffic. Or the other thing the studios tell you, they go, we're going to promote your movie on all of our social pages. But what we realize is that, okay, maybe there's a page that has 20 million followers and I'm just saying this as an example, Fast and Furious, they might not care about, you know, Knock Knock or Green Inferno. The whole thing with data is finding the audience that cares. And with Green Inferno, you know, the part of the way that we did it was we were able to really kind of slow cook data. Let's say, let's take $10 and let's show a clip from Green Inferno, and we can put in keywords, Tarantino, Roth, John Carpenter. Who are the people? I didn't know that Cabin Fever fans could care less about it, but Last Exorcism 2 fans were really excited about it. Spy Kids 2 fans weren't interested, but people that love Danny Trejo went crazy for Green Inferno. Stuff you can never anticipate. The other thing with data that we learned is not only do we not know anything, what you know is basically fresh for about 90 days. The data is constantly refreshing. So even now, the Green Inferno people might not, a year from now, might not be interested in Green Inferno because people's interests change so fast. So the idea is you have a really good piece of intellectual property, a good idea. Don't say, okay, let's test these ideas and see which one's good. Let's say, let's test these ideas and see who's responding. And then that's the one you can kind of get behind and let it grow. Like if you have 4 different shows and there's one show, you're spending $100 on each show, and there's one show that's getting 25 times the engagement, you go, okay, it doesn't mean the others are bad, it just means they're not connecting for whatever reason. This one is the one that you're gonna focus on.
Let's drill down on that a little bit. You talk about finding out exactly who your audience is. Once you know that, how do you put that into action?
Well, for example, we could tell on Green Inferno we had a heavily Latin cast. Our lead, Lorenza Izzo, who plays an American girl, doesn't necessarily look, she doesn't look like the typical Latin. She's very European looks. So we started testing, and we could tell very early on that Latinos, we know they like horror, but in particular, because we had a South American, the kid's going to Peru, and they're sort of Spanish, but we don't really make a big deal out of it in the movie, we could tell that audience was really, really responding to the movie. That helped inform, there was also a television spend, so that helped inform. Then after we saw that, we said, okay, let's go to Miami and do a press tour. And we went on the #1, all the top, like the Good Morning American shows, like the Univision, Telemundo, the top shows. We went on with our Spanish-speaking actors and did an entire campaign in Miami in Spanish. The movie opened, opening weekend, on a movie with no stars at $3.5 million. And that was on 1,500 screens. So that meant like we were able to find our audience. Now, I don't know if it's like a very gory cannibal movie, but we could use the data to see who was responding, to go after the people that seemed to care about it. Did it convert to a ticket? It's hard to say, but I can tell you we definitely got a fan base that cared about the movie, excited about the movie.
Since I'm assuming that the demo for Knock Knock and Green Inferno is underrepresented in the room, can you just give us a quick log line for each?
You assume that, but you don't know that.
I don't know that because I haven't done the data.
And that's exactly what the psychology is that people would say to me, oh, no one under 25, or oh, people 50 and older aren't going to, and yet you can actually test it. We could put out those trailers to everyone and see who in the room responds to it. So our whole thing is that we're like, I don't know who's gonna like it. I just assume everybody. Let the data tell us. Green Inferno is it's a film about a bunch of students, kind of very like activists, social justice warrior type kids from school in New York City. They go down to protest saving a dying tribe, an uncontacted tribe in the Amazon. They protest it, it works. On the way home, their plane crashes, and the very people they save actually take them in as prisoners and eat them. So the kids are like, but we're your saviors, like chopping them up and eating them. Knock Knock is a married man played by Keanu Reeves, his family leaves him alone for the weekend, and 2 beautiful young women show up at his house, seemingly lost in a rainstorm. He lets them in to use his phone. One thing leads to another. He has a crazy wild night with them, and the next morning they won't leave, and they completely destroy his life. So Green Inferno is super, super gory, and Knock Knock, it's more psychological, one drop of blood.
And are these similar demos that you get for these, or are they different, very distinct audiences that will show up for those 2 kinds of content?
Well, you're always going to assume that you have a certain type of audience because it's going to be my name and I'm going to have a certain fan base, but the truth is you don't know. I mean, there's certain people that might like me or might like me from acting in Inglourious Basterds that have absolutely no interest in seeing a gory movie. Whereas Knock Knock, it might be someone that, it's not a horror movie, it's more of a thriller. So the people that like my horror movies might not want to see a thriller from me, but it's people that like Keanu Reeves. But it's interesting, the people that like Dangerous Liaisons Keanu Reeves more than John Wick Keanu Reeves, or the people that watch John Wick are expecting John Wick, and it's not that type of movie. So basically the whole idea is to just sort of see what the data tells you. Studios have different approaches. Like my feeling is we're in the very beginning of this. Like if you look right now, all the budgets are shrinking for movies. Stars are getting less money, less back end. The thing where it just feels like there's this endless waterfall of money is marketing. It just feels like it's like this fire plug that's been knocked over, and this money is being spouted, and they're just hoping to get everybody. And my feeling is that, yeah, that's going to work. If you have a Jurassic World and a tentpole movie or James Bond, for sure. And by the way, I'm not the expert of this. I'm not the one. I'm not saying here I know how to market a movie or what's the amount to spend. But I do feel that for specific types of movies, using data where you don't have a $60 million ad spend, where you don't have Leonardo DiCaprio, where you're not going to have billboards and commercials on Monday Night Football, how do you find your audience? We made Green Inferno for $5 million, Knock Knock for just like $4.5 million. When you are doing a movie like that, how do you spend the money effectively and efficiently to find an audience that cares about that particular movie? And I'm telling you, I've seen it work. You can use data to test materials on certain subgroups. I mean, here's the thing. Everyone brags about view counts, but view counts are bullshit. You can get 3 million views on a video, but if people aren't watching it all the way through, you can watch 15 seconds to a video, it's gonna get you a count. If no one's posting it on their page or telling their friends about it, it doesn't really matter. You can, spend a lot of money to have Kim Kardashian advertise on her Twitter, but her audience isn't necessarily going to care. What you want to do is you start small with $10 and see what that group responds to. And then take that information, you can send it to Facebook and get a lookalike audience. And then say, okay, now let's go wider and wider and wider and do it. It's almost like microwaving something versus slow cooking it. If you slow cook it, you get real, rich, informed data that can really help you target your movie. Our whole thing was, instead of just blasting and getting lots of viewers, let's develop a core audience for Crypt TV that cares, that respects us as a brand the way I respect Vice. Vice is a great guide. You look at they're worth what they're worth because they spent a long time building their brand. I've built my brand in horror, and now the idea is to channel that into the brand of Crypt TV, where you can take your shows. We have a show called Drug Deals that is a very loyal audience. We did a Green Inferno themed episode. You can't just say, hey, go see Green Inferno, but we did a really fun one where there's a new strain of weed called Green Inferno that's delivered, and everyone gets the munchies, and then they're eating each other, and they eat the delivery guy who shows up with the pizza. And the director, they did a great job with it, but it was such a fun piece of content that everyone shared it. We did something with a visit on Snapchat where people went to a house and they went to grandmother's house, and we got a blend of social media stars and actors to do it. So the people didn't feel like they were being sold something. We did something for the Gallows where, with this social star, Acacia Brindley, what we found is that the YouTubers all want to act. So you get someone like Acacia Brindley who's got a crazy following for her makeup tutorials. She wants to act. We brought her in. She did a short, got hundreds and thousands of views. It was like a scary, for our show, 1 Minute Horror that we have. It's our IP. It has a loyal audience. She brings her audience, and then she actually used that as her audition for Neighbors 2, and she got cast in Neighbors 2. So then that spread to the other social stars. Instead of just saying, hey guys, go see The Hollow, it's a really cool movie, you integrate her in an acting role, give her a really good showcase for her to show to casting directors, so everybody gets something out of it, and the people at Warner Brothers were thrilled with the response to it. So what we're seeing is that there is a real synergy between intellectual property, between marketing movies, between integrating social media stars and talent, because the people on Twitter want to go to Vine, the Viners want to go to YouTube, the YouTubers want to go to Vimeo. Everybody wants to get into, jump to the next level. And what we've done is basically created a platform where everything can integrate and synergize.
You mentioned that views are bullshit.
Views are, okay, I should say this. Views are not bullshit. That is too much of a general statement. People will sell you, we can get you 3 million views. But it's a mirage. Because what it is to get a view count, you can spend a lot of money. It's like when sites say, oh, we have 3 million users. Well, look at the engagement. Look at the engagement. You're noticing they're getting 4 comments.
All right, so it's
that's not 3 million users. That's half of them are robots.
So it's engagement is what you're really looking for.
Engagement is everything.
And how do you spot it and how do you measure it?
Likes, comments, shares.
That's it.
That's it. It's simple. It's very easy. You can tell when an audience takes a piece of content, when they post it to their page, when they write something about it and they tell their friends and it spreads, you can tell which ones people are engaging in and what people want more of. And you can see it spreading to other sites. Like someone came to us with an idea called Close After Midnight. It's kind of like a night at the museum type idea where it's basically a guy works in a Halloween shop, and the only rules are you have to close before midnight. That's the only rule. It's like Gremlins. So of course he's like spacing out, and we used Logan Paul, who's a big social media star, wants to act, is studying acting now, and he's terrific in it. So Logan does the short. It's a 1.5 minute thing. And we put very little money into it, and it was almost so quickly at 1 million views because you could see it was like 20,000 comments, like insane amounts of shit. As soon as we put it out, we put, I think, $100 behind it, and it sparked. You could tell everybody watched it, shared it with their friends. So the idea is that now 5 different companies going, are you guys doing this as a feature? Like, why aren't you doing this? And we said, well, yes, we are going to do it as a feature. The beauty of the data now is that when you do it with the data company, when you do it through Facebook, you can retarget the people that care about it. So by the end of our Green Inferno campaign, when we put a trailer on, not only was it at 3.2 million or 3.5 million views, everyone that was watching it, it was really incredibly high engagements. You know, and what I've seen these companies do, I've seen their decks, I've seen how they're selling. You know, they're saying like, oh, we'll get you 5 million views. It's like, well, that's great, but you're basically showing it to people that don't necessarily care about it. So how do you find people that care about it? You have to target a specific product, find your specific, and by the way, this obviously doesn't apply to science fiction, horror, reality, tattoo. It can be anything you're doing. You know, it could be about makeup. It could be if you're a flower shop. Whatever it is, you can use data to find your audience. Instead of spending the money to throw a commercial on television, hoping you catch the attention of someone that's interested, you put it out there and find the people that are interested and grow that audience and retarget them. Because Facebook can also send you a lookalike group. Like you have a group of 500,000 people, you send it to Facebook in 24 hours, they'll give you 1 million people because they know the people that like these 15 different things will use the analytics to find a similar groups. And then you try targeting those people, and that's how you grow your audience.
Let's talk a bit more about that sort of retargeting.
Yeah.
So once you have that information, know who your audience is, how do you put that into action as a content creator?
Okay, let's say we're making our show, one of our intellectual property, like 1 Minute Horror, which is one of our most popular shows. The people that watch 1 Minute Horror, when a new episode goes up, we can put an ad. You can put whether it's $10, whether it's $100, whether it depends what your goal is, $1,000. You can retarget those exact people that have watched it before, but you retarget the same people, they will get an ad, it will pop up on their Facebook page. And it's because they've watched a 1 Minute Horror. People kept saying to me like, God damn it, your Green Inferno's all over my damn Facebook. I can't talk to any of my friends without the ads popping up. It's like it knows. It's the same principle. You know how you go on Amazon, you buy a pair of shoes, and then you're on another website, and somehow the bars around your frame are like, how the fuck did they know I want those shoes? Like, it's the same, and this is exactly what the retail industry has been doing. This is why the stores are out of business and why the online retailing is booming, is because they know exactly what you're interested in, because they have your profile. Well, you can do that with entertainment. You can see what other people have watched. You can try targeting the fans of drug deals with 1 Minute Horror and see if they like it, but we know the 1 Minute Horror people are going to have certain other interest groups. You can resend ads to them to grow the audience. And again, data cannot make a hit. We can't manufacture hits. You have to have a level of quality. So, you know, the product that you're putting out there has to be good and it has to be interesting, but you just go after people that care about it.
Well, this is interesting. So you're really talking about is applying the data to marketing and distribution, not so much to guide you in terms of what you create and how you create it.
Absolutely. Like, I can tell you, John Hegeman was the marketing head at Blumhouse Tilt. And John is fantastic at coming up with campaigns and posters, and he could take the materials, and it was like an amazing, amazing working relationship. Where the data comes in is we could say, whereas before, without this tool, you could say, oh, we think people that like extreme sports are gonna like it. And we'd say, no, maybe, you know, girls that like Selena Gomez, we didn't know, like, the Selena Gomez fans went crazy for it. Like, I wouldn't have anticipated that, you know, teenage girls were going crazy for the gore of Green Inferno, and the people that are watching, you know, MMA fighting weren't interested in it. Now, did that convert to ticket sales? You know, we got a sampling of who went to see the movie, but it's interesting, our approach is we have a general idea, but let the data inform us of who we're going to sell this to. We could try like 4 different TV spots and very, very quickly see which ones people were really excited about. We had like 7 different spots, and we could say like, what are we missing? Okay, we're not getting women, and what if there's a spot, and he's like, let's do one about the girl who's the innocent girl, because at the end she's in tribal makeup, the birth of a warrior spot, we call it, where you take the innocent girl from New York City and how she's put into the jungle, goes to this thing, and she emerges a warrior in full tribal makeup. And don't have anything with the gore or the cannibal and the eating. And then you could see women really responding to it. Again, in the marketing, in the creation of your product, you have to go with your gut. But we all got so excited about this one ad, we thought it was the coolest thing, and just nobody gave a shit about it. Because if you're spending $100 on this one, and this one, like 90% of the people are posting it with their friends, and this one, like only one person went, oh, that's cool. We're like, oh, wow, that's a pretty good sampling. And we're targeting at horror fans. You could see what people are responding to.
Where are you gathering the data that you're talking about?
Mainly looking at the Facebook back-end analytics. You can just tell exactly. And also we could see what we're spending. Like we spent 3 cents to get on ads, on the targeted ad buys, targeting Eli Roth keywords. But the completion rate was exponential, and the share rate and the comment rate. So we said, okay, you know what? It's worth it. And other people, we were spending 5.5 cents and getting less engagement. So we go, why are we trying to go after the Inglourious Basterds fans with Green Inferno for 6 cents a view when none of them are sharing it? When we better spend that money on my fans because they care about it and they're telling their friends about it.
It seems to me that it's implicit in what you're saying, that it behooves anybody in this business now to target a community of people who not only like something will enjoy it, but then have people who they know to share it with.
But look at the news. I think one of the reasons the country is so divided in a crazy way, there's just a weird side effect about only getting your news from a source that you agree with. It used to be the nightly news. We sat down at 6 o'clock, and for half an hour, this is what happened in the world. And you could argue about it all you wanted. And then CNN came up, then Fox News came up. So, okay, they have different, CNBC, they have different bends. Now you're following the Twitter feed of someone you agree with. Like if you're gonna vote for Hillary, you're not gonna follow Donald Trump's Twitter. It's so hyper-targeted of how we get our news. Why shouldn't we do the same thing with information? I mean, with entertainment. Think about it. What kills us all from making huge amounts of profits is that we all feel like we have to spend insane amounts of money to reach the audience we want, and then you have to do exponential margins to see a profit. That's the problem that all of us face. This isn't some big secret. Look at what retail has done. Why can't the entertainment industry embrace it? Companies are slowly coming around to it. Some people are, Blumhouse still was amazing at embracing of it. Others, it's a slow, we're doing little test cases with the different studios now to show them that this can really work. No one wants to risk their job going, all right, let's just put $2 million into only Facebook. Everyone's still hedging their bets. But I do feel like we're all going to get to a place where everyone is going to be using data to not waste money, because that's where we, the creators, you, the businesses, where everyone gets screwed is there's so much out there and there's so much noise that the way we're going about it is more billboards, more commercials, more loud. And at a certain point, it's just a saturation where you feel like you can't reach anyone. This is like, you're like American Sniper, like you're hyper-targeting. And if you do it correctly, and you're smart about it, and you're patient with it, and you have good materials, you can actually really take your materials and find an audience. It's all about finding the people that care about exactly what you have.
Why not Twitter?
What we've seen, Twitter is an amazing platform, and we certainly use Twitter. 2% of your tweets are viewed by your followers. You have to catch someone on their phone at that moment, scrolling past, looking at you when you do it. So that's it. Whereas you sit at Facebook, you sit down when you're there, or you're on ESPN and the ads pop up. The ads can follow you on other sites. Twitter's a great platform, but that's the problem with Twitter, is you don't know what you're reaching. I mean, yes, sometimes you get 10,000 retweets. Sometimes you hit it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but those are the statistics that I've heard. Well, I think that whatever we're doing, I mean, we don't have one. Our mandate is dark and edgy. It's not necessarily horror. It's not necessarily gore. It's psychological. It's thriller. We have a reality show about tattoos. Goth kids is a big audience for us. That incorporates music as well. But I think that anything that does well can be really fun and fun. I love the early films of Peter Jackson. You know, Green Inferno is like my mic drop. I don't know if I can spill any more blood than that movie. Knock Knock has no gore, and now I'm about to go and do a giant shark movie at Warner Brothers, which will be like more the Jurassic World kind of like, it's going to be eating people like Pac-Man. Gore. I think there's something, my feeling is there's something for everybody. What we do is we try to create really cool, interesting, smart intellectual property and really use the data to help find its audience, grow that community, and then when you want to grow it, to take it, say, any of our shows that we want to take to a movie or a television series, we go, not only do we have the property, not only shown it works, we know exactly who our audience is, and here's 3 million people that we can retarget exactly, specifically when the show launches.
Eli Roth, thank you for doing this.
Thank you, everybody. It's my pleasure.